The unthinkable is brewing at the Etihad on the blue side of Manchester. Could Manchester City's unprecedented reign of Premier League dominance be under threat? The club, synonymous with serial winning in recent years, looks vulnerable like never before. All the signs are there that their perch at the top could come crashing down in spectacular fashion this season. Is this the end for Pep Guardiola's men? Let's find out. For the last half-decade, Manchester City have rampaged through the Premier League, leaving a trail of dismantled opponents in their wake. Since Pep Guardiola's appointment in 2016, they've won 6 titles out of a possible 8, including the last 4 in a row, setting a new record. Their slick possession-based style making them a marvel to watch. The acquisition of goal machine Erling Haaland in summer 2022 took them to even more formidable heights. With virtually limitless resources for their Abu Dhabi owners and the best manager on the planet, City have looked unstoppable. But every empire must eventually face decline. The cracks in City's imperious armour are widening by the week. Normally so unflappable, they already look strangely vulnerable just over a quarter of the way into a new campaign. Uncharacteristic slip-ups, injuries to key men, and escalating off-field distractions are all taking a toll. Pep's intense demands also seem to be wearing his squad down, both physically and mentally. Rivals have wised up tactically too. The once impenetrable blue wall no longer feels fearsome. For the first time in years, City's squad looks worryingly thin in key areas. The departure of key figures in recent seasons like Julian Alvarez and Riyad Mahrez have deprived them of experience and quality depth. Factor in long-term injuries to Rodri and recurring injuries to players like Kevin De Bruyne and John Stones, and Guardiola suddenly has issues to ponder. Of grave concern is the fitness of talismanic midfielder Kevin De Bruyne, who's barely featured due to niggles and already appears running on fumes. Without De Bruyne firing, City looks surprisingly impotent. Rookie reinforcements are struggling to hit the ground running too, leaving Pep alarmingly short of trusted options to rotate. The cat is also increasingly out of the bag regarding Guardiola's famous tactics. Having blown apart defences in previous seasons with their unique shape-shifting systems, City's play is fast becoming too predictable for rival Premier League managers. Rivals have invested heavily in robust defensive midfielders to nullify their build-up play, and they're sitting deeper, packing tight defensive blocks to stifle space between the lines. Mikel Arteta in particular seems to have cracked the code for handcuffing Guardiola's tactical master plan. If the Catalan can't evolve his philosophy to combat the evolving threats, City could be in real trouble. But like a dark cloud hanging over the Etihad, the protracted Premier League investigation into alleged financial fair play breaches overshadows everything City aim to achieve. The charges are serious. Intentionally misleading UEFA about inflated sponsorship deals to circumvent spending limits. Punishments for the club could be severe if found guilty, with points deductions or even expulsion from the Premier League possible scenarios. Such distractions can only hamper on-pitch performances, even if the players and staff aim to remain professional. At the very least, it hands ammunition to rivals to crank up the pressure on this city's Kropp's mentality and temperament. No top Premier League outfit has stood still while City have dominated. In fact, some of the traditional heavyweights have retooled and rebuilt into formidable challengers to Guardiola's supremacy. Arsenal and Liverpool in particular have invested smartly to become perfectly equipped to potentially dethrone the champions. Jurgen Klopp and Mikel Arteta have built squads that combine youthful exuberance and athleticism with savvy big game experience. Klopp's successor Arne Slot has also gotten off the flying start in his quest to dethrone City. Liverpool have game-changing quality injected all over the pitch too, with players like Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Virgil van Dijk providing world-class opposition. City don't look so scary anymore. The Premier League has evolved beyond a one-horse race. Far from the imperious, swashbuckling unit that usually crushes all concerns, City have been dropping needless points against modest opposition this season. Defeats to Bournemouth and Brighton have already put a major dent in their title challenge by late November. Draws at Newcastle and home to a 10-man Arsenal also saw them leak valuable ground in the title race. And even Spurs have handed them a 4-0 thrashing in recent weeks, meaning Pep has lost 5 games in a row for the first time in his managerial career. You wouldn't bet against them slipping up again either side of the festive season. Have City serial winners lost their fear factor and become just another scalp? When Erling Haaland joined Manchester City from Borussia Dortmund in 2022 in a blockbuster €60 million deal, the move looked like a perfect match made in heaven. Fast forward to 2024 though, and their overall reliance on his goals has become an Achilles heel. True, he's already smashed Premier League goal-scoring records since arriving and currently sits atop the Premier League top scorers list this season. But opposition defenders are wising up to combat his unique blend of power, pace and ruthlessness. When he's shackled, City look hopelessly blunt going forward. A lack of creative guile behind him has been brutally exposed without Kevin De Bruyne's ingenuity. Double marking the Norwegian has become normal. City need more versatility. One of the key battlegrounds that could determine City's fate is their lack of authority in central midfield areas. Without anchor and Ballon d'Or winner Rodri available for the rest of the season, they've looked alarmingly fragile when it comes to dictating tempo or wrestling control of the engine room. Worryingly, experienced players like Mateo Kovacic and Ilkay Gundogan don't look to be able to have the same impact as Rodri. Meanwhile, John Stones' experiment as an emergency anchor has hit a roadblock too, as he was needed to cover weaknesses elsewhere. For several seasons, Manchester City's defensive foundations have been an immovable object, providing the platform for their attacking artistry to flourish. Fast forward to 2024-25 though, and suddenly their backline looks alarmingly unconvincing and error-prone. Players like John Stones, Kyle Walker and Ruben Diaz are struggling for form as they continue to pick up injury niggles. Youngster Jamai Simpson-Pusey has had to provide cover at times and has yet to impress. Guardiola's reluctance to deviate from his high defensive line also leaves space in behind for pacey forwards to counter. And with Ederson not convincing, all facets of their defensive shape need reinforcement. Playing on all four fronts takes a heavy physical and mental toll that no coach can legislate for, no matter how expensively assembled the squad. While Guardiola has an embarrassment of riches, but the relentless grind of the last few seasons is clearly fatiguing his star players already by early winter. The fixture pile-up looks set to derail City both home and abroad in this campaign. European away trips are leaving little recovery for Premier League commitments. Guardiola's innate desire to pursue every trophy as a point of pride rather than prioritise could backfire spectacularly. Key players are already looking increasingly jaded. Sustaining title charges is virtually impossible without freshness and rotation. If City's vulnerabilities looked apparent already, they are yet to travel to their biggest challengers in the form of Liverpool and Arsenal. Arne Slot's Reds are in fine form this season and look like they could really lay down a marker against Manchester City. Meanwhile, for Arsenal, Pep hasn't managed to beat Mikel Arteta in 4 consecutive matches now. They even had the advantage of playing against 10 men in the recent fixture. City are no longer the juggernauts that they used to be. Famed for his obsessive micromanagement of every minute detail, Pep Guardiola has been the best manager in the game for years now. But his philosophy of constant squad rotation, whatever the match importance, only one player in Guardiola has played in every single match this season. Overhauling his starting 11 on a whim has prevented any stable rhythm or fluency developing in recent months. A lack of consistency in selection can kill confidence and cohesion in players starved of minutes. Now, has injuries played their part in this rotation policy? Of course they have, but everyone knows the game of Pep Roulette has long been a certainty in the Premier League. But does he really have the squad depth anymore to afford his rotation policy? Becoming the first ever Premier League side to secure 5 titles on the spin is an unprecedented feat in England. Inevitably, the mere weight of that expectation and history beckoning must be a heavy burden for this crop to carry. Mental fatigue and complacency seep in easily given City's recent domination. While previous challengers wilted amid the chase, this group remains the hunters for now. How long before they feel the pressure mounting under that illustrious mark? Any hopes of achieving further immortality are inescapable amid this pursuit of true greatness. The strain of staying hyper-focused for every single fixture looks crippling. Recruiting shrewdly is one of the factors that gives the Premier League's elite squads their edge. This summer though, Manchester City's acquisitions have stalled and struggled to provide the necessary impact to reinforce their flagging squad. Their only notable signing was winger Savinho for €25 million, who hasn't found the net since his arrival. Guardiola's squad is creaking in areas now, with fresh blood needed to revitalise them. but their transfer committee doesn't appear to have solved the key issues weakening City's aura of invincibility. Trouble is brewing. City have already conceded an alarming deficit to the Premier League's current pace setters Liverpool by late November. What initially looked set to be a two-horse race with Arsenal has morphed into a four-way title dogfight, with the likes of Chelsea also entering the mixer. The gap to City is not what it used to be, and their fans should be worried. Guardiola's side faced the stark reality that any more stumbles would all but concern their 5-in-a-row title dream. Falling further behind at this stage is unthinkable and would require some comeback to wrestle the title back. Will City go another famous run of winning 15 consecutive games? Or will 2025 be remembered as the season their downfall started? But should Manchester City's anticipated fall from grace be realised in 2025, the ramifications could last far longer than just one campaign. An empire built so meticulously over a decade could come tumbling down spectacularly. The entire Pep Guardiola project, lauded for revolutionising the English game, would be under immense scrutiny and pressure to rethink. Have his intense methods simply become stale and predictable? Does the Catalan visionary with such an ego and stubborn beliefs have it in him to evolve yet again? If not, a seismic reset may be needed to reboot the city's fading fortunes and blueprint. That doesn't necessarily equate to the end of an era and complete transition though. Astute investment could restock their squad with the prodigious young talent required to reignite a new cycle. But ongoing financial fair play issues hamper their ability to spend big. But perhaps a fresher voice on the touchline is needed too. After all, Pep only signed a one-year extension. We think the end is near. So while Manchester City's demise looks increasingly inevitable as their flaws get exposed this season, the void could pave the way for new forces to dominate English football's landscape. Bitter rivals Manchester United appear to be back with the appointment of Ruben Amorim. Click the video on screen to find out why the Premier League should fear the new Manchester United. You won't want to miss it.